Hey, citizens of the future, citizen of the future here, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time, I am a researcher following the blockchain and DLT revolution. So, what I'm going to cover today, guys, is a document from the World Trade Organization. And this document is titled Can Blockchain Revolutionize International Trade? And it took me 3 hours to read this, and now it's going to take me probably 2 hours to record this. So, it's going to be about an hour long video, but I'm going to cover what is said in this document so you can see what the state of blockchain was in 2018 because we're now in 2022. So that's a 4 years difference, and there's a lot of things that were gems in here for back then and that I can refer to from things that I've also seen in the trade industry. So the short answer to this question that they ask at the end there, can blockchain revolutionize international trade? Trade has always been shaped by technology innovation. In recent times, a new technology, blockchain, has greeted by many as the next big game changer. Can blockchain revolutionize international trade? Hell yeah, it can. If you've watched some of my videos prior to this, I show massive amounts of proof how DLT and blockchain is revolutionizing the supply chain industry, the trade finance industry, micropayments, wholesale CBDCs. Many industries are being revolutionized by blockchain, and mainstream media is covering this up. They just paint cryptocurrencies as junk and garbage, and then that's it. There's nothing more to crypto. There's no such thing as even blockchain to them. So if you don't know the difference between a cryptocurrency and a blockchain, well, blockchain is the underlying technologies, and I've created a video on this to explain to you citizens the difference so you know. So today, now this is a disclaimer, none of this is financial advice. I'm not paid to create any of this, and the reason that I do create my content is because I see a lack of good factual information out there on regulated blockchain networks, on regulated documents that actually break it down. And so this video is for people that want to know how industries are changing. This isn't hype. I'm not hyping anything up. I'm literally going facts for facts, reading this 163-page document and breaking down things that I see and things that I can refer to and cite. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope it's not too boring. There are some really sweet things, and I'll do timestamps for you guys. But yeah, I hope you enjoy, and let's get started. Okay, so main thing they started off with how I've been saying it. Blockchain is much more than Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the start of the revolution, and it is not the end of the revolution. There is a lot more carbon neutral, better alternatives. So they just talk quickly about how blockchain is tamper-proof, decentralized, and distributed digital record of transactions that create trust and is said to be highly resilient. Perfect. We all knew that. Talk about consensus protocols and no particular trust in each other to collaborate without having to rely on a single trusted party. So remember, blockchain cuts out the middlemen. We all know that. They mentioned smart contracts. So smart contracts are executed in the code. So it automates processes, reduces cost because it eliminates human intervention into contracts. So it takes out the third party, and it's all automated through the technology. Let's see. Okay, so before I dive into this is in 2018. Remember this. Blockchain could help trade move closer to becoming paperless. This is 4 years ago. From trade finance to customs clearance, transportation, and logistics, trading goods involves multiple actors and remains paper intensive. Blockchain is seen as many as an interesting tool to improve the efficiency of trade processes and help move towards paperless trade. However, challenges to overcome are equivalent to the opportunities offered by the technology. So they're talking about paperless trade. If you've seen my other videos, I've mentioned many solutions. We got Inigio Time that's built on top of XDC. They use digitalized documents, and yeah, so you're turning paper into digitalized documents, you get all the data points, etc. So let's move on. Blockchain could give rise to a new generation of services. Damn rights it can. So I just skipped through like stuff that I didn't really see important, but I will share this document so you guys, if you want to read some of this stuff, go right ahead. Blockchain could help administer intellectual property rights in more efficient and transparent ways and help fight counterfeits. So when you have a blockchain, you can tell if something's been corrupted or copied. You can see where the real files are. So beyond sectoral specific applications, blockchain opens multifaceted cross-cutting opportunities. Blockchain could help build trust and enhance the transparency of supply chains. So this is saying that you can now create a digital twin for a product. So you have it fully tracked along the way. And it just creates transparency because you know exactly where your product is in its life cycle of transport. So blockchain has also the potential to reduce a variety of trade costs substantially by increasing transparency, making it possible to automate processes and payments. Blockchain has the potential to reduce trade costs significantly, including verification, networking, processing, coordination, transportation, and logistics, as well as financial intermediation and exchange rate costs. So everything on a blockchain, it eliminates paper, it eliminates a third party having to deal with making sure stuff is verified and correct. It creates instant settlement of transactions, processing and transportation logistics. So I'm going to just give me a second here. I'm going to pull up a picture and then we'll talk about that. Okay, so as we see here, cross-border trade, you have paper. Paper costs 20% of the total cost of shipping. And that is because there's so many authorities, ports, exporters, forwarders. These paper has to change hands. It can be up to like 150 times in some shipments, and that's very siloed. It's heavy paper based, and it's just broken. So this is an example from Sullivan and Worcester, which is a trade finance law firm, and this just shows the old-fashioned way. Why have this? So this is paper documents going from an issuing bank to a correspondent banking to an exporter to an insurance company to an importer, and it's just a mess. An absolute mess. And this is what we're talking about here. One possible blockchain-enabled future. And you have everything on a distributed ledger, and it just creates a free-flowing document that is updated in real time. You see whose hand it is in. It eliminates paper. It eliminates cost. It's an automated process, so all they have to do is scan a QR code at every point along transit, and it updates in real time. We are at the forefront of the technology revolution, and that is how it is happening. So before we get back to the document, I want to show you. This came out in 2020, at the end of 2021, and it's from the G7. So this is a fast forward 4 years, okay? G7 creating a modern digital trade ecosystem, cutting the cost and complexity of trade, reforming laws and harmonizing legal frameworks. And guess what? Just guess. Right here. Paperless trade will reduce the costs and complexities of trade, tackle 50% of the global 1.7 trillion trade finance gap, and enable small medium enterprises to participate and drive the economic recovery and reduce fraud and criminal activity. Legal reforms will remove barriers to innovation, eliminate inefficiencies in the trading systems, and accelerate the smarter use of technology solutions. An estimated 4 billion trade documents are in circulation. This is a year. 4 billion. If stacked on each other, the documents would be 520,000 meters high. Think of that, 520,000 meters high of paper a year, and constitute approximately 500,000 trees. Paperless trade reduces the carbon footprint of trade and promotes more sustainable working processes. So look at this. I'm about to go over a 2018 document, and I just showed you a 2022 document showing how it's being revolutionized. So I hope you see the relevance of how far the industry has come, but it's crazy. So let's get back into it here. So blockchain opens up new opportunities for micro, small, medium-sized enterprises and small producers from developing countries. Oh, look at that. No way. So MSMEs, participation in international trade by facilitating access to trade finance, facilitating trade procedures, and reducing trade costs. It could help lower the barrier to entry and making it easier for small companies and producers to participate in international trade. However, those opportunities can only be realized if small firms and producers have the right technical skills and enjoy adequate internet access. Addressing the digital gap, both in terms of access and bandwidth, is therefore a key of importance. In addition, like any other innovation, blockchain carries with a risk of disrupting some sectors and categories of workers. Opportunities and benefits may not equally be shared. So, I'm going to pause this. I'm going to bring you guys up to the trade finance gap just to show you what they're talking about. So just quickly, talking about closing the trade finance gap here. So trade finance gap is, there's businesses all around the world and they need money for loans, for their products, for their businesses. And banks they don't have enough money to provide to half the companies out there. So 40% of all small, medium enterprises around the globe get denied funding for their businesses, and that's not fair. So this is the accessible funding right here, and this is the gap in 2020 here. The gap of lack of funding is 1.7 trillion, but I found an ICC document right here where it says to get back to pre-COVID times, we need potentially as much as $5 trillion that's what a lack of funding is right here. $5 trillion. And if you put that in a perspective of time, where $1 equals a second, that 5 trillion is equal to 157,000 years. Because us retail people can't even visualize what $5 trillion looks like, but we can visualize in time, and that's ridiculous. And yeah, so they're trying to close. So how does blockchain close the trade finance gap? Well, blockchain, a decentralized token ecosystem, could be a lending platform. So right now, it's only the trade finance asset class is only accessible to banks. But if you had a decentralized ecosystem using tokens, anyone can buy tokens and stake in a pool, and then that can be accessible to small, medium enterprises around the world. To draw liquidity. So it's basically a trade finance liquidity pool that could be being built. Interoperability. This is the best one. So because in 2022, we all know what the interoperability solutions are for the DLT networks. So they're talking about the digital island problem. They're talking about different DLT networks and how they have problems talking and interoperating with each other. So like, today we can't send XRP to a Bitcoin address, we can't send Ethereum to a Bitcoin address, vice versa. But then we have, if we take a zoom back to 2022, where we're at right now, Quant Network. They provide, here I'm going to pull up the schematic. So this is there are two schematics here from my fellow deep researcher, Anonymous XX. There's his name right here. But he did this to visualize, to show how Quant interoperates between regulated DLT networks. So for example, the ISO 222 family. So Quant is the interoperator. So if you have XDC network and you want to, interoperate with XRP or XLM or Algo or some of these networks here, it just shows that Quant is the interoperability solution to move value between networks flawlessly. And so Quant is the solution for interoperability. So 2018 and even up to today, they still haven't admitted there's a solution out there in a lot of these trade finance and banking documents. They still say blockchain has interoperability problems. But the answer is right in front of us. It's just low key while they're building Overledger and getting it fully launched. So that's just talking about interoperability. And they're also right here. International organizations such as the International Chamber of Commerce, the ICC, everyone should know who the ICC is and how they're revolutionizing global trade. The International Organization for Standardization, which is ISO, and just give me a second here. So as most of you guys have heard of ISO 20022, and that's the messaging standard that banks worldwide have to update their systems to accept, and it's richer payments. You can attach invoices to it. It's a new messaging standard that modernizes the current legacy banking system. And so as everyone's seen, you know, you all have seen the ISO 20022 family ecosystem of interoperable digital assets that meet the processes behind interoperating with traditional finance. And then I'm going to step over and talk about ISO TC 307. So ISO TC 307 was founded by the CEO of Quant Network, Gilbert Verdian, and 53 countries are currently working towards this standard. They also are part of the INATBA, which is International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications, which Quant Network is a founding member. And here are some other awesome big names that are part of that: the UK government, MIT, Sony Europe, HSBC, Microsoft, IBM. And what is it about? It's about creating standardization of blockchain technologies and distributed ledger technologies. So this was in 2018 when that. So this is what I think they're referring to in that document, is when they're talking about the ISO standards, because there's this in the 222. And it's about foundations, security, privacy, identity, smart contracts and their applications, use cases, governance, interoperability. Yeah, so just thought I'd point that out. If you guys don't know, Google it, research it. I've got some threads on there somewhere on Twitter. Let's see. So they talk about World's Customs Organization, United Nations Center for Trade Facilitation and Electronic Business. And they're talking about legal issues. So right here, so the wide-scale deployment of blockchain requires a conductive regulatory framework that recognizes the legal validity of blockchain transactions, clarifies applicable laws and liabilities, and regulates the way data can be accessed and used. The most critical issue relates to the legal status of blockchain transactions, e-signatures, e-documents, and in 2017, so if you guys have been a part of my network, you guys have heard me talk about the MLETR. And this is where it's awesome. This is a perfect to show how long this is being built, okay? In 2017, the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law adopted the MLETR, Model Law on Electronic Transfer Records. So this is a generic law stating that electronic transfer records can be recognized if they're digital. So I'll get into that. I've touched on it in other videos. So yeah, so let's keep going. So right here, blockchain can make international trade smarter, but smart trade requires smart solutions and smart standardizations, which can only be developed through cooperation. If we succeed in creating an ecosystem conducive to the wider development of blockchain, international trade may look radically different in 10 to 15 years. So this isn't an overnight process. And well, why is that? Because they're talking about smart standardization. And in order to make like a global standard, this is what we're talking about, a global standardization of a law for digital documents that every separate jurisdictions around the world have to update their legislation to accept digital documents. So it's a really time-consuming process. You know, this MLETR started in 2017. That's 5 years ago today, and jurisdictions are just in the midst of updating their English law. I've been following this topic, and I think by the end of this year, we should see adoption, more jurisdictions accepting this MLETR standard. And once we see that, we'll start seeing more digitalized documents being used around the globe. So here's just talking about blockchain key features, which we already know about. Okay guys, so I decided instead of having a full hour-long video, I'm going to split it up in between 3 parts. So go to part 2 if you would like to see more. And if you got anything out of this video, like, comment, subscribe, leave feedback on how I can improve and make this better for you guys. Because I'm trying to create educational content to help other people see these invisible networks and how they're revolutionizing the globe. Cheers.